Well, here we go again. I saw an ad on Bipolar 1 and Bipolar 2, and I did not know that there was a Bipolar 2. Bipolar 1 is the lesser of the two, but rest assured that there will be a Bipolar 3 as the pharmaceutical industry will be creating a Bipolar 3 drug, as this is how it works now. Create the symptoms, rope the medical community into the lies, and offer up rewards for tagging along, and reach out to the ad agencies and start selling the placebos to the masses. And what's the one spice that everyone needs more of? Think about it. Time. Recently, I tried to import my favorite playlist on Spotify to either the YouTube platform or Facebook, but couldn't seem to do it. Evidently, I was too late to the party, as there seems to be some restraints on this. And I do understand technology now is quite sophisticated, and I may have missed a window of opportunity to do what I wanted to do with it. It's a list of 112 songs that I couldn't live without. So maybe I'll just list the songs on some upcoming session. And these are the songs that I consider to be unforgettable masterpieces that inspire me to walk through the fires of life. Not that I've had that many fires, but nothing inspires me more than a magnificent, sublime music. And I dare say that no one has a better playlist than mine. I may have stated this in an earlier episode, and this is a true story. I actually started drinking alcohol, believe it or not, at around age 5 or 6. And here's how. My father had a small bar in our basement, and I would, as any normal, inquisitive child might do, test some of the concoctions, and he didn't have that many. Again, this was a long time ago. I wasn't even sure what liquor it was, simply because I was only 5 or 6, and I recalled that it didn't taste good and made me grimace and squint my eyes. I imagine, however, I did like the Angostura bitters, and I still do to this day. And I started buying nips or miniatures and eventually made it with the kindergarten teacher and started having pajama parties. Only kidding, of course. But the drinking of alcohol at that age is true. I also like beer, since when my parents would throw one of their adult parties, I would get up early in the morning, walk downstairs, and finish some of the open beer cans, which I enjoyed also. And note, I've never become an alcoholic, probably for this very reason. I got used to it, and though I've always enjoyed drinking, I did get carried away a bit in my late teens and early 20s, as many of us do at that age. But once I got a full-time job out of college, I had to control it, and I did. And lastly, I stopped sampling the open beer cans and/or bottles on the morning after my parents' parties, when I brought one of the cans up to my mouth and drained what was left of the can. And to my disgust, it had a cigarette butt in the can, and I never did that again. And again, I was only 5 or 6 years old when this happened. I guess you could call me the kindergarten drunk. True story, too. And while we were in Cologne in Germany about 6 years ago at a local restaurant that was actually quite good, great sausages and beer, I had to use the bathroom, and I couldn't find it. So I asked one of the waiters where the bathroom was, and the waiter made a sign like this, without even acknowledging me and without saying a word. And I'm not making this up. And I thought to myself, they just can't get this militaristic background out of their bloodstream. But that's what traveling is all about. Each place you visit has its own style and way, and Cologne is a great city to visit. I recall when George Carlin was doing one of his stand-up routines, when he claimed that some people started questioning him on why he started doing commercials and being on the children's TV series Thomas and Friends years ago, since George transformed over to counterculture comedy and that he had no faith in humanity. And so, typical of George, he told the audience, well, F you, you're just going to have to figure this out on your own. Excuse me. I always put a tremendous amount of energy into doing only what I consider to be unnecessary. And I finally got my hands on the classic book War and Peace by Tolstoy. And the book that I bought contains 1,444 pages. So for me, in this book, War takes up 1,443 pages, while Peace is on the last page, 1,444. And I don't know if I'll live long enough to finish it. And I've been reading Robert Musil, an Austrian writer from a century ago or more, and he's a superb writer. So I'll include some of his quotes, as he claims that we cannot overlook the uncertainty that leads in every case to a compromise between the objectively and the subjectively proper attitude. And he also states that today's responsibility center of gravity is not in people, but in circumstances. This beauty in life is all well and good, but is it mine? And is the truth that I'm learning my truth? And I'm now at the point where if my dear wife asks me a question, I usually reply, "Oh, I forgot." And it doesn't stop there. As this malady progresses, it now becomes, "I forget what I forgot." So it's like another layer of forgetting, if you can figure that one out. It's getting that bad. And as I've always been a scatterbrain, and now all of the components of my brain are aging, drying up, and slowly dying. And lastly, I've always loved this line from the 007 James Bond movie when the woman asks him, "Do you know what the word no means?" To which he replies, "No," and I'm out.